There is no competition when you recognize that when you are willing to just bring that unique sauce that is you.
Welcome, Third Rock listeners, to the Branding Laboratory. I'm your host, Deevo, Chief Experience Officer for the Brand Storyteller and the Fusion Creative Brands. And each week, I have the privilege of speaking with extraordinary leaders and entrepreneurs who are reshaping the way industries work. These conversations go way beyond the surface to explore the core philosophies, the lessons, and the challenges that define the brands that we admire today. And one of the greatest rewards of this podcast is the opportunity to share the insights of some of the brightest minds in business, people who are passionate about pushing boundaries and redefining what's possible. And as I always say, the stories we tell are the brands we build. And this show is a testament to the power of that concept. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Branding Laboratory. I'm Deevo, your host, and today we're going to be diving into the art of speaking with impact. Joining us are two powerhouses in the world of professional speaking, personal branding, celebrities in their own right, Justin Guarini and Kim Walsh Phillips. And Justin is an entertainment veteran and star of Broadway and television, and Kim is a marketing trailblazer who has worked with some of the most influential names in business. And we're going to learn a little about who those people are so I can tie it all together. Together, they launched a new business and are on a mission to help professionals like you and me go from being the best kept secret to an in-demand, highly paid keynote speaker. So if you're ready to unlock your speaking potential, this is the conversation for you. All right, so I'm thrilled to welcome Justin and Kim Walsh Phillips, Justin Guarini. They are the founders of the Elite Speakers Network. Justin, you might know from American Idol and is it Dr. Pepper and some other things that you have seen. And Kim, you're a powerhouse in marketing. You're known for your work with celebrities like Kevin O'Leary and some best-selling books on the entrepreneurial success. I really appreciate you both taking the time to join me for this hour on the Branding Laboratory.
Thanks for having us.
So I wanted to kind of learn a little bit about who you are and how you came together. I know I just dropped a few tidbits of information, but if you could just sort of share high level, 30,000 feet, where you came from to how you got where you are, and then ultimately how did the two of you come together to build this business?
Yeah, I'll start the story and do both at the same time, and then Justin will finish the story. So I was growing my business. I grew my first company, which was a marketing agency, from struggling bankruptcy to a multi-million-dollar firm that I was able to exit from, putting me in the top 1% of all firms that could do that. And then people started asking me, how did I do it? And I started teaching them. And that's how I started my second company. It was really showing people how to successfully scale a company. And I would run these in-person workshops that we would use to get more coaching clients. Well, the pandemic happened and those in-person workshops came to a quick close. And I was seeking a way to do the same thing we were doing before, but virtually. I got on an app called Clubhouse, an audio app, and started using that as a way to communicate, create virtual stages, because I've been speaking on in-person stages. And that is where I met Justin Guarini. And I knew him from the first season of American Idol, where he was the finalist. He was in front of 50 million people at a certain point. He'd been on 7 different Broadway shows, had been the character behind Dr. Pepper's Little Sweet. And we started talking and I realized, oh my gosh, he's also like a marketing nerd and I'm a theater nerd. So like we instantly clicked and started doing some things together on the app. Well, I eventually invited him to be an MC at what we tried to do as our first pivot from in-person to virtual, which was doing a 3-day virtual event where we would take people through the same content we used to do in person, but in a virtual format. And he was our MC, came to the studio in person. And during the break, most MCs are, goofing off and they're on their phone, but Justin was in the green room doing all of the exercises. He was in the workbook actually doing the things I was teaching on the stage of how to grow your business. And I said to him, like, what are you doing? And he said, I have a coaching business I'm growing. I said, you do? He said, yeah. I'm like, I can help you with that. And so he became a client of mine from that event. And then we started bringing him in to coach our members on performance because we were already teaching people how to get out there more on stage and online to grow their business. Now we have the performance coaching.
Mm.
And then a little show called me called Bravo's Below Deck Sailing and invited me to be a guest on that show. And I asked Justin if he would come on as my guest.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so we found ourselves and our team in uh, Sardinia, over in Italy, out in the
Hmm.
Mediterranean, on this show, Bravo, one of Bravo's,
How many times have you
the
dropped
number
that
one show.
line in
I know,
Sardinia?
actually, it's the first, well, not the first time,
I
but
usually
like,
don't. He usually doesn't say where it is. Actually, that might have been.
I'm just
yeah,
joking. Well, you
yeah,
should.
yeah,
It instantly adds street
it's
cred. Like
sweet.
I
I
was
It's
in
come
mean,
on.
Sardinia.
nice. It does not
It doesn't
suck.
hurt. It doesn't hurt. And so we found ourselves and our team on this boat on the episode. And as we were on the ship, we were talking to the cast and the crew and just kind of digging into their backgrounds. And we ended up just beginning to coach them. And one of the producers came over to us and was like, "Oh, do you two do this? Like, is this your business?" We're like, "Well, like sort of, but it's kind of we don't do this exact thing." And the producer said, "Well, you probably should."
Excuse me, sir. No, 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 no. Whenever we have an opportunity given to us, and this is for everyone, we're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. We totally do this. This is what we do.
Are you kidding me? This is my second job.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I
And
was born
so,
for this moment.
right. And so we found ourselves back in the customs line coming back into America. And we're like, what if we just like, this is a great idea. Like, what if we went for it? And so we just fleshed out this idea. And our first client ended up being Captain Glenn Shepherd from this number one show. So like our first client was this huge celebrity on Bravo and still is. And from there, we have been helping entrepreneurs and really just helping entrepreneurs really discover how to expand their business and get on stages and deliver a clear, confident, concise message that just speaks directly to the heart of the things that their people want to know.
Because here's the thing, like in traditional marketing, which is what I was from, my first company was running a Facebook ads agency, direct
Mm.
response Facebook ads agency. And so I was so used to spending money to get clients, right? Give Mark Zuckerberg $1 to get a client. And meanwhile, some of my best clients of all time had come from me speaking on a stage at an event.
Sure.
And whenever I would get off that stage, people would ask, "How did you learn how to speak like that? How did you become a speaker?" And I'd give them some advice, but then I'd move on. And then it just hit me like this is what we love to do. We've been asked to coach people on this for so long. What if we took the model that we've created that instead of paying for leads, we get paid to generate leads? So, how do you get booked as a paid speaker for an event and use that opportunity to get
Mm.
clients in the door? So, you're generating revenue because you think about it, if you go from straight lead generation to client generation, you need to grow your authority. You need to generate the leads and then you need to make the offer. Well, when you get brought to a stage, you're instantly the authority. As soon as you're on that stage, you're now the expert. You
Mhm.
don't have to generate any of the leads because the event organizer did it for you. Now you get to go straight to bringing them in as a client.
Mhm.
So it's the fastest path to doing this. And so we tested it. We're like, okay, well, we better go do this if this is what we're going to do. New business, new offer, new audience. So it's like all those things.
Yeah.
And we got hired to speak at an event in January. We got $15,000 to do the keynote. We generated $165,000 from the stage, and what we call is an easy yes offer. It's something that's easy for the audience to say yes to. And then from that, we've generated $1.2 million in revenue from that same audience. Because when you make that easy yes offer from the stage, you then get to nurture the relationship and bring them into those long-term premium value offers. And so
Mm.
it worked for us. We're like, we're going to keep doing it. We speak now, we're hired keynote speakers, and we share with entrepreneurs how they can do the same thing.
So this model where you made all this ripple effect cash, have you been able to replicate it again and again?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're paid speakers who get booked on stages.
Hmm.
We can talk about it. We do this on autopilot. We have an automated machine that books us on stages. And then we go speak at the event. We make an easy yes offer. We generate revenue from the event. And then we um, have them come in as clients, premium value clients later on.
I'm fascinated by the time and space that we're living in right now in terms of having access to so many different tools,
Mm,
resources, people, 7.5 billion people on social media type of
yeah,
thing that, when I was, even 25 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do some of the bandwidth that we have right now. And
yeah,
it always amazes me that there are so many opportunities out there where people could make money. And I know that we're at an all-time high for entrepreneurship ever in the history of like the world.
yeah.
But there are still so many people who are just sitting on their laurels thinking that this is not the route I could go. Maybe I'm scared. Maybe I'm fearful. What were the two of you doing before you moved into this entrepreneurial journey? And if I first may ask, and then what were some of the shifts you made in your mindset to do what you were doing to what you're doing now?
Well, I feel like for me, I was doing what I was taught, trained, and educated to do, what I was really passionate about, which is getting on a stage and singing, acting, dancing, and performing. And while I don't think that there is anything wrong with being an employee, being an entrepreneur, if you want to put it that way, I
Mm,
mean that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just recognized that one night when I was on the stage at on Broadway at Wicked, playing Fiero, one of the leading male roles in that show. I just got off stage one time and I realized, oh my goodness, like I, I am so I'm the whatever the 10th Fiero that's existed. When
mm,
my contract is up, as lucrative as this is, I'm going to have to find another show contract. It's like it's this thing where I was like, wait a minute, and in this contract, I'm being paid pennies on the dollar compared
mm,
to what the producers are making. And so when that really started to dawn on me, and look, I love it. I love being on the stage. I love being on Broadway. I mean, and I'm at the pinnacle of world theater. And yet I realized that there's only so far I can go in the role that I'm currently in, whether you want to think of that as a role like a role of an actor or
His
just
role
the
and his constant
right.
need for public applause. We'll just
mm.
Right. I know. Oh my goodness. I need to be clapped at. I'm like Tinkerbell. My light goes out
uh-huh.
if I don't get clapped at. And so I just realized, okay, how can I continue to do what it is that I love, but also make an investment that's going to give me a return on autopilot, a return when I'm sleeping, a return when I'm sick, a return when I can't sing, act, or dance, a return even when people might not want to see me on the stage or on the TV. And so the first thing that I thought was, okay, I can take the experience that I've had over 2 decades of experience on film, television, stage, 30 million people. I mean, gosh, all the things that I've done, and I can really show other singers, actors, and dancers how to do what I do and do it better than they've ever done it before. But the real linchpin for me was recognizing that the audience that really knew and understood the word investment and was
Mm.
willing to invest in themselves and would invest in themselves and in me and pay me what I was worth was in the entrepreneurial space. And
Yeah,
that's when Kim came into my life. And that was that synergy moment where I realized, oh my goodness, people in the entrepreneurial space, whether they're, doctors, accountants, lawyers, whatever it may be, they can benefit from what it is that I know in terms of entertainment and being on a stage and being able to deliver a message just as much as they can benefit from all the amazing thing that Kim knows and the experience that she's had in terms of marketing and messaging and converting from stage and being able to deliver the right fit message to the right fit market.
That's lovely that you said that. Kim, before you answer, I wanted to unpack something. I always find it fascinating because what you're doing is something similar to my journey. I had this epiphany I started off in my entrepreneurial quest. I first worked in the corporate world for 15 years, learned a bunch of different things, but sort of similar to you, Justin. I was like, at the end of the day, I'm doing something for somebody else, and I don't have any sort of like creative outlet to be me. So I jumped into what I knew as a hobby was photography. I did that for almost 15 years. I still have that business. But in the process of working with other clients and I started doing a lot of personal brand content creation for people like yourselves, I discovered that in order to let me back up. What I discovered early on is that you kind of had this idea of you just needed content just to sort of showcase your story, but there wasn't any real purpose behind it. It was just sort of like, let's create some photography, let's create some video, and then let's just smatter the airwaves like throwing spaghetti on the wall. And so this new business that I launched a few years ago, I started kind of figuring out And it all came from this epiphany. How can I help people tell their story that's in full alignment with who they actually are? And I kept getting bumped up against this construct. And Kim, I want to hear your feedback on this. Everybody always tells entrepreneurs they need to niche down. And I've always struggled with that concept because for me, niching down puts me into a box. And I'm not saying there isn't value in it. I'm not saying that there aren't businesses, whether you're an e-commerce store or you're very productized, et cetera, or maybe even programmatized, that there is a specific niche that you're targeting. But for me, I can help any industry. I can help doctors. I can help chiropractors. I can help. My camera went out of focus. I can help a variety of different types of people. I can't help people who can't keep their camera in focus, obviously. But but what I found out is that instead of trying to niche down for my clients, I came across this idea of like, how can you captivate the things that you really love the most, the things that are really in alignment with your values and your philosophies, and then share that, like bottle that up. And if it, my thought was is these things are passionate to me and they work for me, then they probably would work for somebody else. And so I started like coming up with this idea of like becoming the niche and like teaching my clients how to take what their core skills were and their core values and the core philosophies and then embodying that in the product or the service they were selling. So Kim, first question, your story and how that happened. And then, because it kind of sounds like that's what you're doing now. You both are sort of like living the dream of what you really embody and what you were really good at and what you're
Oh,
really
living the
passionate
dream
about.
every minute of every day. That's how
Yeah,
that goes.
isn't that what all entrepreneurs do? We just
All
live the
day,
dream,
living the
carefree.
dream.
I mean, we kind of are like not
We
to
are.
not to be
Yeah.
cliche. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that this is a bed of roses. There's some days are a motherfucker. Like I am like, dude, can I just catch like a small wisp of air so that I
Yeah.
can just do nothing for a minute? But at the end of the day, I'm like, I get up and do the exact same thing the next day because I love what I'm building. That's what I love about
Absolutely.
entrepreneurship. It's like,
And I kid because I think what people think of is like the dream business is super easy and doesn't require a lot of hard work and just works on its own. And like if that was the thing, everyone would have one. The reason why there are very few successful businesses is that because there are very few people who are willing to walk that extra mile.
yeah.
And to have a truly successful business, you've got to be willing to walk the extra mile 5 times over when you're exhausted and don't feel like you can. And I try to be really upfront. Now you could do it in a way that supports your life. Like my daughter is home sick today. She's struggling with something and I could be there for her when she needs me. And I could change my appointments yesterday and go to be at the doctor with her. Like there's things that are important to me that can be prioritized around my schedule. And I would never give that up. The work that we do changes the world in a way that I was created for. I love our work every single day. But there's also a lot of days that I don't feel like doing what I got to do, but I got to do it in order to grow our business forward. And there's those days too.
I think I probably work, and I've never actually done any data on this, but I would probably say in terms of my 9 to 5 job 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that I
Mhm.
work at least, if not double, triple the amount of time in terms of how much
Yeah.
energy and bandwidth and constant like
Yeah.
mental cognition around something. Before
Mhm.
I was just like punching holes and building widgets and I'd go in and go out, go in, go out. Even though I was paid a shit ton of money to do that, I was never adding any real value to the world. I was just a number in the matrix. As soon as my career
Mm.
was done, recycle, rinse, repeat, put somebody else in my role. And I don't know that
Right.
somebody, yeah, I just don't feel that way as an entrepreneur. So sorry to interrupt, Kim. Just wanted to throw that
No,
out there.
it's not irrelevant. It's great. It's a great add-in. Yeah, I definitely work more than, but I've always had many things going on, so I don't know. I never tracked it. I work a lot, a lot, a lot. So the my background is I had a background in PR, and my first business that I started was actually doing celebrity event planning, and that's how I first started.
You
But
didn't have any work experience before that, so it's like straight out of high school,
I
straight
know
out of
I
college, or
worked in public relations. I worked for a healthcare organization. I worked for Rite Aid Corporation, and the CEO had one point taken away all of our parking so he could park his helicopter, which is not surprisingly weeks before he was indicted. I had to answer the calls from the media. So I have a lot of crazy things. I've been working for politicians and they ended up either losing or getting some part of scandal that I helped cut, like there's crazy times. So not surprisingly, I didn't want to do that life anymore. And I was drawn towards something different. I wanted to make more of an impact and less of being the cleaner upper and more of an impact maker. And I got into the world of public relations and worked for the downtown of our city, York, Pennsylvania. I did all of the marketing and recruitment for the merchants in the town. And I would run this monthly marketing group for these merchants. That was part of my job. And at some point, one of the women came to me and said she thought I should own my own business and she wanted to be my first client. And that's how I started my company. And I grew it as a side hustle during lunch breaks, in the evenings, on my vacation days, growing that first company to the point of me landing a really big contract. I got the city of York as a client, and I was able to leave my full-time job. So that started that way, like very much hustle and grind, start the first business, replace the income, get more clients. And it was good enough, but I was struggling because to get more work, I needed more team. To get more team, I need more work. And at one point, I hucked my engagement ring to make payroll because it's all I had left. And I knew I needed to do something different. And I reached out to a friend of mine and I said to him, like, dude, what did you do to grow your business? And he introduced me to my earliest mentor, which I didn't know would become my mentor, but it was Dan Kennedy. And he wrote the book, No BS Direct Response Marketing, which is an iconic book for marketing. And I devoured it to see how I could apply his strategies to what I was doing. The thing is, in that book, he said he doesn't work with women with hyphenated last names, which I had, and he doesn't work in social media at all, which I did. But I'm like, I'm not going to let this stop me. And so I took his strategies and applied it to what I was doing, and it worked. And I was hooked. And I went and like, I got to go to his first event. So I went to his first event and I was on the line getting my book signed by him. And I just started telling him about like how I had applied his strategies to social and they worked. And he said, you should apply for our Marketer of the Year competition. So I did, and I won. And I ended up getting to go to this winner's weekend with him and show him what I had done to apply all these strategies. Well, he becomes a client. He starts giving me his clients, his really well-known top-level clients. And he ends up asking me to co-author a book with him, which is how I became the co-author of the No BS Guide to Direct Response Social Media Marketing. So now not only does Dan Kennedy have a book with a woman with a hyphenated last name, but he has one all about social media, and it's his best-selling book of all time. So we start getting all these clients in the door, got him. That's when I started working with Kevin, Mr. Wonderful O'Leary from Shark Tank. I've done marketing for Harley Davidson, Hilton Hotels, like big, big deals. Mike Michalowicz, the author of Profit First, and I freaking hated my life. Every second of every day. You talked about waking up in joy. I woke up in dread. I wanted someone to fire me. I hated every minute. I felt like I
Wait,
loved.
stop. So you
Yeah.
were doing all of these projects that you with all those people you were just referencing. You're doing sort of traditional marketing, social media marketing,
Absolutely.
that sort of stuff, like traditional. Okay. And so
Yeah.
that you were getting burnt out at that because of primarily what? Dealing with the clients, dealing with the overload of work. What was the
So
primary?
I love the strategy. Like I have this joke that my dream life would be like me sitting in a caftan on a throne on a beach, and then people just come to me for advice. Like this is my dream. I love that part. I love the strategy. I hated everything else. Like I hated managing the team. I hated making sure the clients did what they said they were going to do. I
Mm,
hated, did we hit this deadline? Did this little piece get done? And we had 32 clients at the time, and we could not scale. And I was burnt out, exhausted, and angry. And I was putting my daughters to bed one night, and I just kind of called up to God and said, God, like, can you freeze time for a second? I don't want to miss these girls growing up. And I
mm,
heard this little God whisper back to me that said, Kim, I don't need to freeze time. You need to be more present. And I was like, dang. Because I had been rationalizing the work I was doing. I'm helping the clients, I'm helping my family. But I knew in my heart I was supposed to reach more people than I ever could reach by doing a traditional agency. I knew I needed more flexibility of time, and I didn't know how to hit it. And it's like, God is amazing and gives me divine timing. And the next week I happened to be attending an event, and there was a speaker on stage and he was talking about marketing. And I'm like, oh, it was okay. Until the very end of his talk where he said he had a course to sell. Now at the time we were getting paid $1,500 on average per client per month for doing their social content. And I was like, it was okay, but it wasn't amazing. And then he makes this offer on stage for a course for $1,500. And I was like, what? And in 1 hour, he was going to get paid what it took me a whole month to do for a client. But it
mm.
wasn't just one that he sold. I look at everyone rushing to the back room. It's like, what?
Yeah.
There's 100 people online. And in 1 hour, I still get emotional thinking about this epiphany month. 1 hour, he did 150 times more than I did in a whole month.
Mm.
Like, this is it. Like, this is what I was missing. And I kind of handed, like, in that moment, I said, God, okay, my company is yours. And I got 3 offers for my business in 1 week. Within 90 days, I had sold my company. The whole time I started testing a weekly talk I could give that would make the same thing happen. 90 days, I sold the business. I started my new company. And just by creating one signature speech that I made an offer in the end of it, within 3 years of starting my business, we landed on the Inc. 5000 at number 475. I scaled my new business in 3 years, 3 times greater than I'd ever done in my first company by creating one signature talk, one signature offer, and just having audiences to give it to.
So it was the simplification of the complexity.
Yeah, and seriously, on the complexity, not doing anything one-on-one, doing group, and only, we talked about doing what you love, only doing the things I really, really loved. So I
Yeah.
love to speak, I love to market, I love to give strategies. So we got rid of everything else in our offerings, and I got team that were really good at the other things. So I could
Mm.
spend all my time, I'm going to either market, I'm going to be talking, or I'm going to be coaching. And if I'm not, like, that's what I spend my time doing. And Justin and I now, like, fast forward, we're like all in on this model. This is what he and I do all day. This is what Justin and I talk about all the time. Let's focus on our strengths. And actually, this is a ChatGPT secret. When we're uploading a project or an idea to ChatGPT, we're like, this is his strength. This is my strength. This are these other team member strengths. Now go ahead and assign this project out. And like, the only things that are assigned to us are the things that we're really good at and we like doing. And I know that the things we like doing are not an accident. That's God giving us discernment to actually spend time doing those things. Like,
Mhm.
in our culture, we think we should be doing these. Like, you spend the time doing things you love because that's why you love them. So you should spend your time doing them. And just doing that allows us to do what we love all the time and allows us to get paid really well while we do it.
Can we unpack that for a second? And this is a question for both of you because I think that's a conundrum that most entrepreneurs actually face, especially early on in their business. And I know that I'm guilty of it as well, is that you said something rationalizing my work. And I work with a lot of clients similar to what it sounds like you did in your first business, Kim, where I'm basically helping them build their business. And I'm sort of getting lost in the weeds that I'm not actually focusing on my core strengths and the things that I really love doing most. And I rationalize it by saying, hey, I'm helping this coach build that business. I'm helping this chiropractor open up his clinic bigger. I'm helping these doctors do this. And while I feel value in that, I sometimes buffer up against this conundrum like, what am I doing for myself right now?
Yeah.
And am I heading down the vacuous path that I got into in the corporate world? And while I love doing what I'm doing, I'm also like tying up everything about me and I'm like working all the time. And most of the entrepreneurs I speak to, they sort of feel the same way. And I'm like, okay, well, fuck. At the end of the day, what's the difference? If I'm still having the same problem, whether I'm doing this way or that way, and I'm still having the same problem, there's that fucking camera situation again. How do I fix that? So this is an interesting conversation. And I don't want to take up a lot of your time on this, but if I came to you with that problem as an entrepreneur, how would the two of you address that with me?
Yeah, we would definitely want to look at what's the 80% profit coming from? What's the 20% of things you're doing that's getting 80% profit? Is there a system behind that? Could we turn that into a step-by-step system? Could you teach that system as a course? Could you put that system into a group coaching program? Could you take that system and create a VIP day out of it that you could get all that work done for somebody in one day? Is that a program that you could create that's a year-long program that everybody goes through together? Like, how do you take that and scale your time? But you have that,
Yeah, it's
Justin.
yeah, it's the difference between being productive and being busy, right? You can
Yeah.
Yeah.
be busy, right? But how do you uh more efficiently multiply the skill sets that you have? It's like there was this movie, I think it was Multiplicity, was it
Mhm.
with Michael Keaton, right? Where he starts multiplying himself, and yet every single version had some lesser degree of him, and it kind of
Mm.
feels like that when we add too many clients in, they're getting, the client number 10 is getting the lesser version of us as opposed to a first
As
client.
he says that, she makes a note, multiplicity clip for our next event.
Yeah, it's totally true. Yeah. And so it is really thinking, okay, how can I take the skill sets that I have and create that value ladder, which is essentially what Kim was talking about, and allowing different people at different points in their journeys with me access me. And I mean, look, it sounds like your experience in the corporate world, it sounds like your experience in photography, whatever it is. Well, I think even to back it up there, it's like, what do you like the most?
Mm-hmm.
What gives you the most joy? Because we love to say, like, build the business you want to work in, like build the business that you enjoy. Because there's nothing worse than waking up, and entrepreneurs, we've all felt this, waking up and just wanting to fire yourself from your own business. Like, it's the worst.
Yeah.
So it's like, build the business you want. But to piggyback on what Kim was saying, it's like, all right, great. Then how are you going to split your skill sets up in a way that allows different people to access you at different levels in their journey? And what is that thing that you can give them? What is the ROI that you can give them? And based on that, you can create levels after levels after levels. I mean, and there was something, Kim and I were at a mastermind, and something stuck out to me so much. And it was the concept of having a money ceiling, having like a financial ceiling. And anybody who has ever seen any story about somebody winning the lottery will know that the majority of people who win lottery, like big money, either in a few years end up broke, dead, in jail, or all three. And it's because we all have this thermostat, this ceiling of what we think we're worth, what we think we should earn. And the speaker we were listening to said, just think about what is the most you've ever earned in a year. And we're talking about, like, not gross, we're talking about net. What is the most you've ever taken home in a year? And that, for the majority of people, is your money ceiling. And you will resist going above that in a subconscious way. If you go above that and you're hitting it for like a quarter or two, more often than not, you will do, say, be things that will bring you back down below that money ceiling. And so I think the point I'm trying to make is that when you then create that value ladder, when you then say, okay, how can I create the greatest return on my investment of time and their investment in me, like, how can we push beyond that money ceiling? How do we begin to creep that up and say, man, as we like to say in a lot of our master classes, I have value and I deserve to be paid for it.
Amen.
Well, what is this value ladder? Because you both referenced it a couple of times. What does this look like?
It's kind of like if you were going on, if you were online at Starbucks, right? And you're going to order a drink and you notice someone queued across the room. And then the next day you see that person, and the next day you see that person, and that person comes online behind you. You're single, they're single. And they say to you, hey, I noticed you. You're kind of cute. I would love to buy you a cup of coffee. Would that be okay? And you're like, yeah, like that'd be great. I'd love to get to know you a little bit. Yeah, that sounds great. Like, because it's the right place. You feel comfortable. It's not a big commitment of time or energy. If instead it's day one, you're on the coffee line, this person behind you is kind of cute, and they turn to you and say, like, hey, I'm going on a 10-day cruise next week. Do you want to come with me? No, like most humans would be like,
Right.
absolutely not, that you're frightening. Please don't ever talk to me again. You might not even go to the coffee shop again. But we as marketers sometimes try to get that 10-day cruise in the first conversation.
Hmm.
Or we don't have any process to get them from first glance to actually ever working with us. We don't have a system in place. So the value letter is really the customer journey. It's how you take them from not knowing you to becoming a premium value client. The thing that's beautiful about speaking on stage is it speeds the process along because they will trust you more. That gives them a space that they trust, like the coffee shop. You're now in an event that they invested money to attend, right? So it's the right person because they showed that they're likely to spend money solving a problem. So you have trust there. You also have trust because you're presented as the authority, the expert, because you're on stage. And then you want to make them an offer that's that easy ass offer. Just like, can I buy you a cup of coffee? You need the can I buy you the cup of coffee offer. So
Hmm.
from the stage, we recommend that you sell something $1,000 or less that doesn't require a long period of time to implement. It's going to be a 1-day event, a 3-day event, a 5-week course, something that's not a long-term commitment. You're not sending them into becoming a client. If the only offer you currently have is to become an ongoing client, you might get 2 or 3 clients from an event if you're lucky,
That's
because
the
those
15.
are,
That's the 15-day cruise.
yeah, yeah, because those are your like most excited, most ready to go, like we call those the divers. 15% of your population is going to be the divers.
Hmm.
They're the people who don't need social proof. They don't need a lot. They are the emotional buyers. They're typically your worst buyers, by the way, because they tend to regret their decisions also.
Mm.
But they're the ones that are most likely to jump right in without thinking about it and go for it. 15%. 85% of buyers are what we call skimmers. They're
Mhm.
the kind of person, they go to the water. They're like, is anybody in the water? Are you in the water? How's the temperature? Let me put my pinky toe in. Then they'll get in. 85% of buyers are that way. So if you don't have a process to take them from uncertainty to certainty, you're not
Mhm.
going to ever get 85% of the sales that you could have had if you did. So by putting in an easy yes offer, it doesn't take a lot of time, it doesn't take a lot of money, but it gives you an opportunity to get a really good win by working with us. Then you are going to miss a sale. Now, the way that we do it is from the stage, we have an offer that's called the Elite Speaker Blueprint. And it is a short-term commitment. It's like we give you 5 stages of going from not speaking on stage as a paid speaker. A lot of our folks they were in theater, they had a podcast, they were in a band, they were a cheerleader. They did some kind of performance before, but they'd never been paid to speak on a stage.
Mhm.
So we take them from you've never been paid to speak on a stage to getting paid to speak on a stage. That's what these stages are. And then they get coaching with us and included as well. Then, as part of that experience, they're invited to a 3-day virtual boot camp where we really create their personalized speaker plan. It's all included in the $1,000 offer. It's either $997 or $97 a month for 12 months. And then we make them an offer for what we call the Elite Speaker Accelerator, where they join us in person for 2 days and we get all their speaker stuff done. We film their keynote intro, we take all their professional photos, we build out all of the stuff, the assets, and then we bring in our speaker agent who will then get them booked on stages. So now it's like you have the idea, now we're going to get all this stuff done.
So
That's 50.
you're building out a toolkit for them.
We're implementing it too. We're getting
So that's your business model that you're using in terms of your
yeah.
revenue machine. But as part of your revenue machine, it's sort of like a double-edged sword. You're
Yeah.
using it to make money for you, but you're also implementing it for other people so they
We
can
do
make money for
what we
them.
teach. Yes, we do what we teach and we teach what we do.
I love
Yes.
that. Um,
And then so that's 15K. And here's how this works. So we do this whole model, we do our 3-day event, and 50% of the people who attend that virtual boot camp took the next offer. So we're getting them from not knowing us to buying $1,000 to buying a $15,000 within 60 days. And we don't, that's no one-on-one selling. That's all group. So
yeah.
now all the stuff we used to do for people personally is now done in a group setting, which is better for them. They create a whole community. They
Mm,
love on each other. They support each other. They comment on each other's social medias. They're audience at each other's events. Like they
yeah.
have a community of humans they can depend on now. And then we're like, okay, we want one more level. So we have 3 levels. We have the bottom level, that's a 997. We have the 14,997. And then we have our elite level, that's $100,000. And these are people who have us do everything for them. We write their keynote, we get them booked on all their stages, we negotiate their speaker fees, like we do that's a huge difference. You're going to have very few clients at that level, which is what we want. We don't want a
Mm,
lot of clients at that level because that's not scalable.
yeah.
But it's enough money that if we get them, it's worth it. But it's
Yeah.
got to be enough money at that elite level of the one-on-one services that you're not feeling burnt out and frustrated that you're spending all your time doing this, that you have no time to scale your company.
So sorry, just one point of clarification on this, and we can move on to something else. In this program, when you're working with clients in a one-on-one capacity, you're teaching them how to build and replicate basically the same system that you've built and using for you. That's exactly what you're doing?
In the 100K level?
No. The two of you have built these programs that are
Yeah.
revenue making machines where they get
Yeah.
a little bit more complex and more upscale as you rise the ladder, if you
It's really
will.
the same system. It's actually just more access to us and more of us doing things for them at each
Yeah,
level. But really,
I understand that. But what I'm asking is, so the same system that you've built, this is also part of the programs that you're teaching people so they
yeah.
can implement it their own. That's phenomenal. I love that. Sorry, Justin, you said something earlier, and I just made a note. You were talking about becoming like all these things for your business, and it always reminds me of I don't know who said it. I think Zig Ziglar said it, but are you running your business or is your business running you? And I don't know, I may have misquoted that, but it's something along those lines. And I started realizing in that space, like especially early on in the last few years of my business, I feel like that sort of fits me. Like I'm making strides, but they're incremental. And I love that scarcity ladder ceiling thing you talked about, because while we make good money, it's sort of like we're just sort of keep making the same type of money. So what are we doing wrong? Why am I working so much for my company, and how do we fix that? So I know you have a program for this. Can you fix my camera? And then B, can you also tell me, like, if you just had like 10 minutes to work with someone in that space, what were the first things that you would fix for them?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, Kim and I would come at it from different angles, but if you talk from a performance space, which is the my wheelhouse, I mean, I would first ask, okay, what does it feel like for you to get on stage? Now, most people come and say that I feel very nervous.
Mm.
I have stage fright, right? And I would, if I had had 10 minutes, first of all, the first thing that I would do is let you know that's perfectly normal. You're a human being. Congratulations. No one is born having the skill set of being able to get up on a stage, deliver a message, and not feel nervous about it. As a matter of fact, some of the biggest names in any industry you can think of get off the stage and say to people, how did I do? Just like anybody else would, right? We all have insecurities and we all have nerves and we all have anxieties. They're perfectly normal. Now, here's the thing. Is your business running you, or are you running your business? Well, are you going to allow your nerves to run you, or are you going to run your nerves?
Mm.
And the first way to run your nerves is to do something I love to call the nerve crushing exercise, where we teach people how to reset their nervous system. It's something they can do right before they get up on the stage, so that instead of being run by your nerves, you can actually take that energy, because it's all energy, and turn it into excitement. So anxiety goes to anticipation, right? Nerves turn into excitement. And it's that energy that you can use in order to get up on the stage and actually be more dynamic,
Mm.
be
Mhm.
more entertaining and interesting and captivating. So that would be the first thing that I would do with people.
So in your business, Justin, is there sort of a dichotomy of roles? You're more performance-based coaching, and Kim, you're more operational marketing efficiency coaching, or is there sort of a synergy in between?
There's definitely synergy in between, for sure. But Kim, I mean, how would you describe it? Because I think you go beyond operational for sure.
In our Elite Speakers Network, I lead the persuasion classes. So, how to be persuasive in your copywriting, in your performance, in your sales strategy. And Justin leads the performance coaching.
Mhm.
And then we collaborate on both, because I have a theater background and he has incredible marketing and copywriting skills. So, we take the lead in those two areas, but then we collaborate. We are both we enjoy being on camera and on stage, both of us do. So we work together, and our keynote talks we do together, which makes us
Mhm.
also unusual because they're joint presentations, which is not the norm in our industry. And I love it because I ran my business for over 20 years by myself, and you don't need to have a business partner. I was very successful. I landed on Inc. 5000 solo. But having someone to bounce things off of, to be able to utilize the energy in the room is really great, because our content, I think, is the best when we're together in person.
Mm.
And that is fabulous. But we both can coach people from a slightly different perspective. But typically, if it's going to be a copywriting or messaging or business strategy for scaling, it's going to be me. And if it's going to be around performance or nerves or how to speak in a way that will be more clearly understood, it's going to be Justin.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I had a former partner. That's funny you said that. And she and I were really good on camera together. And that was sort of our shtick. We would show up on camera on social media, and it was really good. But she was a horrible business partner. And the fact that she had no
Yeah,
experience running business. And I don't say that to be mean. I'm just saying,
that'd
like,
be terrible.
yeah, it was just sort of like, okay, we were really good at this, but we're just a dog and pony show at this point. Like, what else can we bring to the table other than just
Right.
showing
And
up on
that's
camera?
actually a good point, because I had a business partner really early in my first company, and it was terrible. And within 1 year, I had to buy him out, everything he invested, and I had to give him interest, and it was a waste. And so I had done that before. And 20 years later, I'm getting someone else to partner with. And in the very beginning, there was some frustration on my side, because Justin was still performing on Broadway and he was fitting this in when he could. And I was assigning things to him that he weren't getting done. And then
Mm.
I had a real moment of clarity to say, like, what if you look at the time he has, how can you utilize that with his greatest skill set? And that's where he started enjoying the work more because he got to do the things that he really is great at and likes to do. And
Mm.
I started being more reasonable in what I was requesting to actually have him do those things. And what was so cool about that is when he stopped doing the full-time Broadway show and had more time to devote, we'd already set ourselves up for success.
Yeah.
Because one of the greatest things you can do is create your success model to work when your life is at its busiest and you are at your worst.
Mm.
If you can do that, that you don't need to be high energy, you don't need to have lots of time, and still you can be successful, then you'll always be successful. Because when you have more time, you have more energy, you get to even get more done. And what I love about this is so many people think, I'll do that when I'm less busy. I'll do that when I'm
Mm.
less busy. And it's a false narrative because even if you did start something when you're less busy, you're going to get busy again. And if you're
Yeah.
saying the only way can be successful is by not being busy, then you're saying as soon as I start something when I'm not busy, I'm going to stop doing it when I am busy and I'm
Mm.
never going to be successful. So instead, the best time you can do something is when you are the most busy, because if you can be successful, then you're going to be successful forever.
And if you keep doing that, it just becomes one of those shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'll get to it at some point. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, and you just sort of look back and like
Mm.
those never happened. Kim, you talk a lot about the power of influencing and being able to sway people's opinions or connect with them emotionally. Would you mind? Can you break down how a speaker can prepare and structure their presentations to maximize influence?
I would love to. And actually, I just want to do this together. He has a few strategies that he walks us through of how to be persuasive, and he can share them, and then I'll demonstrate them.
Brilliant.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so what I love to do is when I think about a performance on a stage, and you can substitute speaking or keynoting for a performance here because I feel like it all is a
Sure.
performance. You're delivering a message. Um, I love to break it down into three key areas when it comes to the ability to be not only confident but persuasive, and that is your voice, your face, and your body. So your vocal expression, your physical expression, and your emotional expression. So something
Because
really,
we all like a
really,
good bev, don't you know? We all like
hey, that's right, BEV. Yeah, that was a good Bev. So that being said, when you want to be more persuasive on from a physical standpoint, there's something really simple that you can do, and it just comes from the tribe effect, really, which in Robert Cialdini's book, he talks about the tribe effect and how people will en masse want to do things together more than they'll want to do it solo. It's why when we're on Amazon, we look for the product that has the most reviews on it, right? Because more people have gotten this than any, even though the other product might be a little bit cheaper, or the other version of that product might be cheaper. Oh, this one has more reviews. It's more reliable. I'm going to do it because everyone else did it. So what you can do very simply is just raise your hand and nod your head like you would raise your hand in class. I mean, not above your head, but up, just up by your face, right? And say like, hey, does this make sense? And you nod your head. So if you're delivering a concept or a message or you drop a golden nugget, you just raise your hand and nod your head, yes.
Mm.
And you will be surprised at how many people in the audience will raise their hand or they'll nod yes.
Mhm.
And you're getting a subconscious buy-in from them. It's what was called a micro close, right? It's like, oh, you're getting a yes. Now, this you could pepper these throughout your keynote speech, and what you're doing on a subconscious level is you're getting people to say yes, 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 yes along the way, so that by the time they get to the big yes at the end, which is your offer, whether that's actually a product or service or just a hey, go out and seize the day, they're gonna say yes to you at the end. So Kim, why don't you go for that?
Yeah, and if you did watch this on your YouTube channel, you could go
Mhm.
back and see that Justin and I did that
Yeah,
for each other throughout our time with you.
yeah.
'Cause we're always doing that to reinforce the big idea. So
Mhm.
if I was to be in front of an audience, I would say, how many of you want to get paid to speak and grow your business? Raise your hand and say yes right now. And I
Mm.
was already doing it before I did it. So if you're listening to this right now, I was nodding my head and raising my hand before I told them to do it. And why you do it that way is you want their brain to catch up to the command you're about to give.
Hmm.
And the beautiful thing about that is not only will they follow what you're saying because they want to have reciprocity or giving value, they want to do something back for you, but also it gives social proof because then they see other people around them are comfortably following you, which makes it safe for them to follow you too. It's kind of like in an elevator. If one person gets on and faces everybody else in the elevator, you just feel super weird. You don't want to go the right way. But if I've seen an experiment where everybody in the elevator turns around, then you do too. You always want to follow what other people are doing, even when it doesn't make any sense. The same thing goes with your audience. You get them comfortable following your process.
I think that's called the Hegelian effect. I was just reading about that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
They did that's true. I was just literally reading about they did a study in I think it was in New York or Chicago. It was a really busy city in the 80s. And this was more of a more pernicious study, but they put a woman in distress in an alley and on a really busy street. Have you heard of this study? And then they documented how many people would actually stop and help her. And in like 99.9% of the time, if nobody bothered to help first, 99% of the people would continue walking. But as soon as
Wow.
one person stepped into the alley to help her out, then there was like an influx of people that would follow. And they repeated this study. It wasn't just like a one-time thing. They kept repeating it and repeating it in other cities. And it was literally like the same effect each and every time in every city, no matter where it was. It was bonkers to sort of like, and they're like, people don't want to be like isolated in a silo by themselves. We're tribe people. We want to be in a community, right? So
We were just at a very well-known magician show in Vegas, very well known. And he's gotten on in years and kind of passed by his enthusiasm for doing the show
Yeah.
as he speed reads it basically. And they have people planted in the audience, crouched down, who stand up at different times to clap to get the rest of the audience to stand up and clap. So, I mean, this same strategy is used all the time everywhere. And people did. They were all cheering. They left the event like, that was great. We're like, what?
Wait, so do you use that strategy? Do you have plants?
If our team's in the room though, 100%, they will be clapping.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, sure.
they
Yes,
will
that
start.
clapping.
And
Yeah.
he
You
and
guys
I
got to
will
get your
check for
story
each
straight.
other.
Justin said no.
No,
Kim said
I thought you
yes.
were about standing ovation. I was like, no,
No,
we
not
don't do
standing
standing
ovation,
ovation, but
but
clapping,
cheering,
sure.
yeah. But you also, but you can do that same thing with getting your audience to be that member. So what you do is you make eye contact with a few enthusiastic people in the audience.
Yeah.
You encourage them by looking at them directly when you're doing things, which keeps them engaged. And then when you ask some questions, you actually point them out and recognize them, making them a micro celebrity and celebrating them. So they become those people in the anchors in the audience for you, and other people look to them because remember, they're the diver. Everyone else in the room is the skimmer. So as soon as you identify who your divers are, you can leverage the audience to do that for you.
I love that tidbit.
Yeah.
Justin, you're in theater, you've been in front of a camera, it seems like for the better half of most of your adult life, and it sounds like Kim, you have as well. And this takes a lot of confidence and security and practice and repetition and sort of be able to do this. But what would you say for somebody who is new to this, but is really interested in it and they want to be more confident, they want to be more secure in front of an audience? Are there any things that they can do now to sort of step in front of the camera, just behind the scenes to help them prepare for something like this?
100%. I think, first of all, understanding what confidence is. We see people, whether that's in politics, media, sports, whatever it is, who come out and they are strong, or they just seem like they don't care what anyone else thinks. And far too often we mistake arrogance for confidence. And arrogance is the desire to squash other people down, so I look bigger, all that. And so whereas confidence, on the other hand, very, very simply, is all based around trust. The word confide means to trust. And so when we have self-confidence or self-confidence, it just means that we trust ourselves. And as I like to say, everything that you want, desire, whether that's with your body, your spiritual connection, your relationships, your business, everything that you desire is waiting for you on the other side of your willingness to fail. And it's the start that stops most people. And so, to your point, what can they do behind the scenes? It is in the doing of the thing where you learn to trust yourself. Yeah, I mean, could you imagine if we, to our little children, when they first start walking, when they fall down, we say, up, okay, up, you fell 2 or 3 times. That's it. No more trying to walk. That's it. No more. No. Right? I mean, we all have our little bruises and scars and things from when we fell and hit the table and all that, right? And so it is in the doing of the thing that you learn to trust yourself. Thomas Edison famously was quoted as saying when a reporter came up to him and said, "Hey, you tried to create the light bulb like 10,000 times and you got it on your
Yeah.
10,001st time. And, what was it like to fail all those times?" And being the genius that he is, he said, "Well, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just learned 10,000 ways not to make the light bulb." And it's that kind of attitude. And unfortunately, it doesn't take 10,000 tries. When you just get in front of the camera, get behind the microphone, start talking, and just the doing of the thing you will learn. And then when you seek out a coach, or in our case, coaches, who will help you get further, faster, that's when the rubber really meets the road. And Kim and I, through our programs, we love to take people who don't let the start stop them. We love to take people who have a message, who have an actual business and success, and who want to go to that next level. And we just love to accelerate that process for them.
Do I have a few more minutes with you, or are we running, because we're running up on the hour? Can we continue? I have a few more things I'd like to ask. Is that cool?
Yeah,
Both
we
of
can
you?
do a couple more minutes.
And but I raise my hand. We have a couple more hours. Is that good with you guys?
A couple more
Couple more
hours. Wait a
hours,
minute.
no.
Hey.
Couple more minutes, yes.
Kim, you're an author. You're on social media expertise, all these sorts of things. If somebody wants to become a speaker, do you recommend them first creating, whether it's a book or having a good social media presence, or can they just go straight into becoming a speaker?
We prefer them not to spend time on building their branding from a content growth perspective until they're clear on their market, their message, and what they're going to talk about. So that's really the first step. Just focus on, and you talked about earlier, I didn't tap in on it, about finding your niche. What we recommend is stop thinking about niche, stop thinking about audience. That's too much. That's too broad. That's too confusing. Instead, think about one client that you love working with that you'd love to have a whole audience of.
I love
Just
that.
in all of your messaging, focus in on that one person. So is this a talk title that they'd be interested in? And so what we tell them to do is, let's come up with that. We actually have created a whole process. We have this list of questions they answer. They load it into ChatGPT. ChatGPT gives them 4 talk titles. Then it also gives that. Yes, Justin.
Oh, Kim, but what if you've never worked with a client before?
So it's you 3 years ago. What would
Yeah.
have been helpful for you when you discovered what you discovered that changed your life that you want to help people with? Or if you want to change your audience, like you're like, I love what I do, but I don't like who I do it for. Who's someone you want to work with? Like, just focus on that one person. We call our person Alex. So Alex is a successful business owner who has a great company, is tired of relying upon word of mouth and referrals. He does great work, but he doesn't feel like he can scale. He's been in theater, performance arts of some kind, band, cheerleading, and he wants
DJ.
to be a speaker to grow his company, and he just doesn't know how. And he spent time, money on marketing, and it hasn't worked as he wanted, and he's frustrated, and he feels like time is passing him by. That's our person, and we speak to Alex all the time. And if you go, again, if you go back to this interview, you'll see that I was talking about him, Justin was talking about him. He is our guy, and we are willing to say, even us by saying it's someone who owns a business who's been in performance arts, that excludes people, and we're okay with that. By us saying it's people, somebody who already has a business, that excludes people, and we're okay with that. We know who our best clients are that we have worked with, and we love working with them. And so we call them out in our content, and you can do the same thing in yours. So then we'll create the talk, we upload the talk to ChatGPT, and we say, give us 20 pieces of content based on this talk. And then we recommend that our clients post 4 times a day. They're like, what? Yes, 4 times a day. You want to go the extra mile times 4, then more than what anyone else is willing to do, because then you are infiltrating the newsfeed. Now, this isn't like what you ate for breakfast and why you're so great. No one cares. It's a valuable content that they will be like, wow, that's awesome. Wow, this is so good. Let me save that. Let me hit that bookmark button, because it's great, great content. And the beautiful thing about the age that we live in is you can automate all of this. We have a LinkedIn campaign that runs for Justin and I 24/7 that literally reaches out to event planners and says, for your upcoming event, do you hire outside speakers? And if so, who's your contact person? 24/7, this is going. And we get speaking gigs from this campaign on autopilot. Like, when you hear these strategies we're sharing, if your brain's been saying, I can't do that because, I just challenge you to think, if I was to do this, how could I?
Is
If
that
I
like
were,
a DM strategy you're doing through LinkedIn? Is that what you mean?
yes,
So it's
connecting
like so
first.
you're using like a sales navigator or is that what it's called, or like a clever lead to sort of automate that process?
Mhm.
That's great.
Get a contact first, become a connection first, and then send a message. But we
Hmm.
don't automate the response to the message once they respond because we like to personalize that stuff.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. It's interesting that you've had because I've experimented with those and I've had mixed results on it.
Uh-huh.
I find personally, just because I get so many emails from people that and I understand there's value in email, but being able to craft that perfect message so that it doesn't come across as salesy or
Mhm.
spammy and that somebody's actually going to open the goddamn thing. Is there like a secret sauce you have to that?
Well, yeah, we make sure is that like it's an email you would feel very comfortable sending a friend.
Yeah.
How they have to sound, and we do not do any pitching in LinkedIn at all. It's literally just saying after you connect to the person, does your event bring in outside speakers, and if so, how does somebody apply? That's it. We're not pitching. We're not trying to be the speaker that way. We're just creating a connection. And the reason why it works is it's partnered up with posting 4 times a day valuable content. So this person's already connected with you. They're going to see your content in their newsfeed. Now you become familiar. You're a familiar expert. That's who's contacting them there
Mm,
versus these spammy, spammer sim things that we get in LinkedIn that we're never going to respond to.
Yeah.
This isn't that. This is somebody who hires speakers. They're looking for a speaker on your topic. They've seen you in the newsfeed, and if they respond with how to apply, now you got what you need to move forward.
mm. And you
Mhm.
find LinkedIn to be your vessel of choice?
The best choice for running the automated campaign that's
Uh-huh.
messaging. We do run content on Facebook and Instagram and
Mhm.
TikTok too.
Yeah, I saw your handles. I'm going to check them out and follow you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank
If each of you could give one piece of advice as we come to the end of the show, this has been great. Thank you. I've literally taken like 25 notes on different things that I found to be really
you.
powerful. So thank you for sharing your insights with us. If you could give one piece of advice or maybe the most valuable lesson that you've learned in this journey so far, from when you started to where you are now to early entrepreneurs, each of you in turn, what would you say?
I would say,
Wait, Justin, before you start, I want to see if he then adds a 26th note from what you say.
ah, oh,
If you
wow,
see me
no,
start as a great,
no
if my
pressure,
camera's
Devo.
frozen though, don't judge.
Yeah, yeah, sure, yeah, exactly.
I don't know
Those
what's going
frozen
on, man.
camera
I have no
blues.
it's a really good camera. I have no idea what's happening, but it's been doing
Well,
all
we
it
would
can.
give you a tip, by the way, a speaker tip. Don't comment on it when it's happening
Yeah,
because the people watching it will see it. They already know it's frozen, freezing. People listening don't. You just let it go. Just
mhm,
once you mention it the first time because you have to
right.
acknowledge the elephant in the room. But then
I
once
love
that,
it.
you're like, ah, when it freezes, you guys just keep talking and we'll keep rolling through. And then you just let it go from then on.
What freeze?
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I've been working
Yeah.
on my
So
my
my,
hypnotized voice.
yeah, there you go. Nice. So, just from what I'm taking from our conversation here, in any line of work, but especially in the entrepreneurial space, recognizing that there is no competition.
Mm.
Some of the things that people say, oh, I've heard other speakers speak about this thing, or oh, there are other people who have the same. It doesn't matter.
Mm,
There is no competition. I remember when I walked into the audition for Lil Sweet, this character that I ended up playing on television for 7 years, completely changing, mine and my family's life. And I remember walking in and seeing all of these people who look like rock stars, and then there was me who didn't look anything like that. And one of the greatest things that I did when I went into the room, and one of the lessons I learned was, and the underlying principle is that there is no competition, because I decided, oh, you know what? I'm here.
mm,
I'm just going to enjoy myself. I'm going to have fun. And the subtext to that is I'm just going to do some weird, wacky, wild things with this dialogue that I do all the time at home, that I make my kids laugh with, that are just uniquely me.
mm,
Everyone else walking in this room is going to say the same exact thing that I say, but none of them are going to say it with my experience of the world, because no one has seen through my eyes, no one has spoken with my tongue, no one has heard the world with my ears, no one has thought with my brain, and yet we're all saying the same thing. And I'm talking about hundreds of people came through that room to say the same exact thing. But there is no competition when you recognize that, when you are willing to just bring that unique sauce that is you, that might be weird to some people, that might turn people off. but ultimately attract that person that you love working with, that person that resonates with you, that client that you're like, oh, thank goodness for this person. I can't stand these other 5 clients, but man, that one makes me want to get out of bed. And then you begin to multiply that client. Well, it all comes back for me to the idea that there is no competition. I just have to show up and deliver my unique message, my experience, and do it with my voice, my style. And you know what? Bless the people who don't like it, and come on to the people who do. Let's go.
You are the competition. Like it's almost like
Sure.
you're competing against yourself, and you
Sure.
can also become your own worst enemy. That's sort of just to draw on that it to me at the core of what you just said is what becoming the niche is. It's sort of an inseparable ethos from your individuality to your brand. It's like living, eating, breathing what you are passionate about. So
It's a
I love that you
category
said
of one.
yeah,
Yeah, you create a
100%,
category of one, even if it's
100%.
in a business that is a very, very crowded field.
100%. Because there's only one you, and what you do is uniquely you. So if you can figure
Absolutely.
out a way to step into that power and then deliver that to somebody, then you've sort of captured what your true essence is. So I love what you just said. Thank you for sharing that. Kim, what about you?
If you've been listening and you think, oh, that sounds so good, but I'm too much of a mess to do this, let me tell you the good news. Your mess was not given to you just to become your message. It was given to you to become someone else's miracle.
Mm,
If your next thought is, but I don't know how, the thing that I want to tell you to do is not to reinvent the wheel. I don't believe anyone will get up to heaven and God be like, you know what? Really good job. Wasting all this time reinventing the wheel. That was great. I sent all these people, they figured it out, and you feel like you've had to figure it out. No, no. The good news is there's already been a blueprint that's been created for you, and your job is to get it. And we can get advice from a lot of people, but unless they've done the thing you want to do, it's just an opinion. It's not advice you should follow. You should only ever take advice from someone you are willing to trade places with on the advice that you're taking. So if you think you have something that can help people, you just need to figure out how. The next step is that. Let me figure
mm,
out how to make this happen.
I love
And
that.
your audience is waiting for you. It's time for you to take the stage.
I love that. There is no competition except for yourself, and your mess is someone else's miracle. Those are
Hmm.
great closing thoughts. Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
you have a free juicy offer that you guys are offering people. I think I saw somewhere in the notes. Um, Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what I saw here. It's if you go to
I got it at the top of my head. It's ready to go.
speakandgrowrichworkshop.com.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
Speakandgrowrichworkshop.com/podcast. That's speakandgrowrichworkshop.com/podcast. It is not a traditional webinar. It is not a traditional masterclass. It is a free workshop where Justin and I work with you to identify who's your right fit market, what's the right fit message, how are you going to get paid as a speaker, and you will walk away with a playbook to make it happen.
I
So
love
we'd love
that.
for you to join us at speakandgrowrichworkshop.com/podcast.
And for those of you who are just listening, it'll be in the show notes below. So we'll make sure when we produce this that all
Great.
that information will be there as well as how people can connect with you. What's the best way for people to find you on Instagram, LinkedIn? Do you have a preferred outlet?
Can be found all the ways. And the reason why I have 3 names, Kim Walsh Phillips, is there's only one of me. There's only one Justin Guarini. So you'll be able to find us in both those places.
Love it.
Unless we're selling you Bitcoin, then someone has pretended to be us and not us. But besides
That's
that,
true.
you'll find
Don't
us.
buy it.
Don't buy it. We did not,
Uh,
we're not selling the Bitcoin.
right.
Awesome. Justin, thank you. Kim, thank you. Great show. I really appreciate you being here today on the Branding Laboratory and sharing your insights and wisdom with my audience.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
It was great.
Wow, that was a lot of information that we covered today on the podcast on the Brand Laboratory. So thank you for listening and for taking the time to entertain us in our various ways. There was a lot of different pieces that both of them dropped in helping us kind of figure out what our next step is and if we want to be in front of a larger audience, how we can do that. So to our listeners that are out there, if you found value in this, again, the notes are below, but speakandgrowrichworkshop.com/podcast. I know that's a mouthful, but the link is below. And listen to their Scale Fast podcast on Apple as well. And thank you for joining us on the Brand Laboratory. To our listeners, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, connect with me on social media. I love to meet new people. And if you want to be a guest, you can go to the brandstoryteller.com/podcast and fill out an application of your own. And who knows, maybe I'll get the pleasure and the benefit of having you on the show next. So I'm Deevo, and this has been the Branding Laboratory. Until next time, keep building something impactful and stay true to yourself. Thanks for tuning in to the Branding Laboratory. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Connect with us on social media for more branding tips and insights. And remember, your story matters. Until next time, keep building and sharing your unique brand story. I'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning in to the Branding Laboratory. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Connect with us on social media for more branding tips and insights. And remember, your story matters. Until next time, keep building and sharing your unique brand story. I'll see you soon.